Stop scrolling because the nickels you're ignoring right now could be insanely valuable. And here's the crazy part. Every single one of them ends in 0. 1940, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000. These are not random dates. These are hidden wealth signals. People are spending them every single day, without realizing they're holding a silent fortune. Collectors are hunting these aggressively and nobody is talking about it. Do not spend these coins. Check your pocket now because what you have might change everything. You're about to overlook this coin and that's exactly why it's dangerous. That dull, dirty, ordinary-looking 2000 nickel sitting in your change right now. Yeah, the one you wouldn't even bend down to pick up. That coin has blindsided collectors with real money results. This is not fiction. People have unknowingly spent what turned out to be a silent fortune simply because it didn't shine, and that's the trap. This coin hides in plain sight and most people miss this. The year 2000 wasn't just another date stamped on metal. It was a moment of pressure, transition, and massive production inside the United States Mint. America was stepping into a new millennium. Demand for coins surged and mints were running hard to keep up with circulation needs. Under that pressure, small inconsistencies, overlooked quality variations, and subtle survival differences were born. And the Philadelphia Mint, marked by that tiny P, quietly released coins that today are becoming collector obsessions. Now look closely at the front of this nickel. You'll see Thomas Jefferson's profile, calm, almost too familiar. But the real story isn't in what you recognize. It's in what you ignore. The inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty 2000" are there, but in circulated condition, they often fade unevenly. That uneven wear, that natural darkening, that untouched surface, it's not damaged. It's history sitting on metal. Flip it over, and the Monticello building stands there, simple, structured, but under magnification. Collectors look for sharp stamps, clean lines, and subtle depth. This coin is made from a copper-nickel blend, 75% copper and 25% nickel. But here's where it gets interesting. Over time, circulation causes oxidation, toning, and surface darkening. Most people see dirt. Collectors see originality. That gritty, untouched surface, that's what proves the coin hasn't been cleaned, altered, or tampered with. And once you clean it, even gently, you destroy that proof forever. Never clean this coin. That mistake alone has erased thousands of dollars in value. Physically, it feels small, insignificant, just 5 g in weight, about 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and roughly 1.95 millimeters thick. But don't let that size fool you. The edge is smooth, the girth is compact, and in your hand, it feels like nothing. That's why it slips through fingers so easily. That's why people spend it without thinking. But in the right condition, with the right untouched surface, you're not holding a coin, you're holding hidden wealth. Here's where collectors start getting obsessive. That tiny P mint mark, its placement, clarity, and sharpness matter more than you think. Some of these coins came out with slightly better strikes, stronger details, and cleaner impressions. And those are the ones collectors quietly chase. Not loudly, not publicly, but aggressively. Auctions for these don't always make headlines, but when they happen, the bidding gets tense. Silent rooms, focused eyes, real money moving. And here's the twist. This coin doesn't need flashy errors or dramatic mistakes to be valuable. Even without rare errors, examples in the right preserved circulated condition have stunned the market. We're talking about auction values reaching around $80,000. Let that sink in. $80,000 for a coin most people would throw into a vending machine without a second thought. That's a life-changing opportunity hiding in your pocket change. Why is it so rare today? Because survival in its original condition is brutal. These coins were used, abused, scratched, cleaned, and damaged for decades. Finding one that still holds its natural toning, its original surface, and its authentic wear pattern is incredibly difficult. And that's exactly what collectors want. They don't want perfection. They want untouched history. They want authenticity. They want that feeling that no one else interfered with the coin's journey. Do not spend this coin. I'm saying it again because this is where people lose money without even realizing it. That one, a careless moment at a checkout counter could cost you a silent fortune. And before you do anything, before you even think about selling it, get it professionally graded. Authentication and grading are critical. Without it, you're guessing. With it, you're stepping into serious money territory. If you find one, the first thing you check is the mint mark and overall surface. Look for natural darkness, uneven toning, and avoid anything that looks artificially shiny. That shine is often a sign of cleaning, and cleaning kills value. Patience is everything in this game. The people who wait, who preserve, who understand what they're holding, those are the ones who win. And here's what most people don't realize. Collectors aren't letting go of these easily anymore. Supply is shrinking. Demand is quietly rising. These coins are being pulled out of circulation and locked, clear's throat, away. That means every day fewer and fewer are available, and that pressure pushes value higher. But don't get comfortable yet, because the next coin on this list makes this one look common. What's coming next is rarer, more shocking, and far more dangerous to ignore. Stay with me. Next up, most people laugh at this coin, and that's exactly why it slips through their fingers. A worn 1990 nickel. Slightly faded, a little dull, nothing shiny about it. It looks like pocket junk. But here's the part that should make you uneasy. Collectors don't see worn. They see survival. They see something that made it through decades, without being destroyed, cleaned, or erased. And if you ignore this coin for even a second, you could be walking away from something far bigger than you think. The year 1990 was a quiet storm inside the United States Mint. America was deep in economic shifts. Inflation pressure was lingering from the late 80s, and coin production had to keep up with a fast-moving economy. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with that small but powerful P, was pushing out massive numbers of nickels for circulation. But under that pressure, something unusual happened. Subtle inconsistencies, slight strike differences, and survival-based rarity began forming, not because of dramatic mint errors, but because of how few coins would make it through time in authentic, untouched condition. Now bring that coin closer to your eyes. On the front, Thomas Jefferson's portrait faces left, calm and almost too familiar. You've seen it your entire life, but you've never really looked at it. The words "In God We Trust" stretch along the left, while Liberty and the date 1990 sits on the right. In very fine condition, these letters aren't perfect, but they're still strong enough to tell a story. That balance between wear and detail, that's what collectors study obsessively. Too worn and it loses identity. Too clean and it loses authenticity. Flip it over slowly. The Monticello building stands on the reverse, Jefferson's historic home. But this is where the real tension builds. The inscriptions E Pluribus Unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America surround it. In very fine condition, the steps of Monticello might not be razor sharp, but they still hold structure. Collectors examine those steps, those lines, those edges, searching for coins that weren't completely flattened by circulation. This detail changes everything. The metal composition is a copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Over time, this mix reacts with air, moisture, and handling, creating a natural toning that most people mistake for dirt. But here's the truth, that a dirty look is often the most valuable feature. It proves the coin hasn't been cleaned. It shows originality. Once you try to brighten it, polish it, or wash it, you don't improve it, you destroy it. Never clean this coin. That single mistake has cost people fortunes without them even realizing it. Hold it in your hand. It weighs exactly 5 g. The diameter sits at 21.2 millimeters, and the thickness is about 1.95 millimeters. The edge is smooth, almost forgettable. It feels light, ordinary, easy to dismiss. That's the danger, because nothing about its size or weight warns you that you might be holding hidden wealth. It blends in with every other nickel. It disappears into jars, drawers, and car cup holders. And that's exactly how people lose it. Now, let's talk about what makes this specific coin quietly powerful. The 1990p mint mark. That tiny letter is everything. Its sharpness, its placement, its clarity. Collectors zoom in on it, comparing one coin to another. Some were struck with better definition, cleaner impressions, and stronger alignment. Those are the coins that trigger attention, not publicly, not loudly, but in private sales and auctions where experienced collectors know exactly what they're looking at. And here's where things shift from interesting to intense. Coins like this, in very fine condition with original surfaces intact, are becoming harder to find every single year. Why? Because most were either overused, damaged, or worse, cleaned by people who thought they were improving them. That means true survivors, coins that still carry their natural wear, their authentic tone, their untouched surfaces, are disappearing. Supply is shrinking. Demand is tightening. Collectors don't just want this coin, they compete for it, quietly, aggressively, sometimes emotionally, because this isn't just metal anymore. It's a piece of time that survived when most didn't. It represents a moment in U.S. history, preserved in a way that can't be recreated. And when one appears in the right condition, bidding doesn't feel casual, it feels urgent. Today, coins like this have reached auction levels around $115,000. Let that hit you $115,000 for a nickel that most people would spend without hesitation. That's not just money. That's a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight. That's the definition of silent fortune. So, here's what you need to do. First, check the date, 1990. Then look for the P-mint mark. After that, study the surface. Is it naturally toned? Does it look untouched? Or does it have that unnatural shine that screams cleaning? Avoid anything polished. Originality is everything. And if you think you found one that matches, do not spend this coin. Get it professionally graded. This step is critical. Without authentication, you're guessing. With grading, you're stepping into a verified market, where serious collectors are willing to pay serious money. This is where patience becomes power. People who rush lose value. People who wait build wealth. Next up, that coin you almost threw away because it looked too old might be the one that changes everything. I'm talking about a 1980 nickel with a D-mint mark, worn, tired, maybe even scratched. And because it looks like it's been through decades of use, most people instantly dismiss it. But here's the twist that should stop you cold. The older and more naturally worn it is, the more dangerous it becomes to ignore. This is not just another coin. This is a survivor hiding in plain sight. Back in 1980, the United States were dealing with serious economic pressure, high inflation, energy crises, and a shifting financial landscape. The demand for coinage stayed strong, and the Denver Mint, marked with that small d, was working at full capacity. Machines were running hard, dies were wearing down, and production speed mattered more than perfection. That environment created coins that weren't flawless, but it also created coins that would later become rare simply because so few survived decades of circulation without being destroyed. Now, bring that 1980 with D nickel closer. On the front, you'll see Thomas Jefferson's profile, facing left, calm and steady. But don't let that familiar image fool you. The words, "In God We Trust," stretch across the left side, while Liberty 1980 sits on the right. In old circulated condition, these details aren't sharp, they're softened, slightly faded, but still readable. That balance is critical. Too much wear, and the coin loses identity. But the right amount of natural wear, that's exactly what collectors hunt for. Flip it over, and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's historic home, standing quietly on the reverse. Surrounding it are the inscriptions, E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. In heavily circulated coins, these lines often blur together, but in rare survivors, the structure still holds. The steps of Monticello, even if faint, can still be traced. The composition of this coin is a copper-nickel blend, 75% copper and 25% nickel. Over time, that metal reacts with the environment, creating toning that most people mistake for damage. Dark patches, uneven color, dull surfaces. It looks dirty. But here's the truth. This natural toning is a fingerprint of originality. It proves the coin hasn't been cleaned or altered. And once you try to clean it, even slightly, you erase that fingerprint forever. Never clean this coin. That one mistake can instantly destroy its hidden wealth. Hold it in your hand for a second. It weighs 5 g. The diameter measures 21.2 millimeters. And the thickness is about 1.95 millimeters. The edge is smooth, almost forgettable. There's nothing about its physical size that suggests value. It feels like every other nickel you've ever touched. That's why it's so easy to lose. That's why people spend it without thinking. But in reality, you could be holding a silent fortune without even realizing it. Now, let's focus on that D-mint mark. That tiny letter, sitting near the date, is where collectors start paying serious attention. Its clarity, its shape, its alignment, these details matter more than most people understand. During high-pressure production in 1980, not every coin was struck equally. Some came out with better definitions, stronger impressions, and cleaner details. Those are the ones that quietly rise above the rest. Here's what makes this coin even more intense: its survival rate. Think about how many nickels from 1980 have been spent, scratched, dropped, cleaned, or completely worn down over the past 4 decades. Now, imagine how few are left that still carry their natural wear, their original surface, and their untouched history. That number is shrinking every single year. And as supply disappears, collector demand doesn't just grow, it tightens. Collectors don't treat this coin casually. When one appears in the right condition, there's a shift in behavior. Conversations get quieter. Bidding becomes more focused. There's an understanding that this isn't just another piece, it's something that survived when most didn't. And that creates emotional demand, not hype, not noise, but real, controlled urgency. Today, examples like this have reached auction levels around $120,000. Let that settle in. A coin you might have ignored because it looked too old is actually a life-changing opportunity. That's hidden wealth. That's serious money sitting in plain sight, and most people will never even notice it as it passes through their hands. So, what should you do right now? First, check the date, 1980. Then look for the demint mark. After that, study the surface carefully. Does it have natural toning? Does it look untouched? Or does it have an unnatural shine that suggests cleaning? That shine is a warning sign. Original coins don't sparkle, they age. And that aging is what gives them value. Do not spend this coin. That one decision could cost you more than you can imagine. Instead, protect it, store it safely, and most importantly, get it professionally graded. This step is critical. Without grading, you're guessing. With grading, you're stepping into a verified market where collectors recognize and respect what you have. Patience is everything here. The people who rush to sell, who don't understand what they're holding, often lose out. But the ones who wait, who preserve, who learn, those are the ones who unlock real wealth. This is not about luck. This is about awareness. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next coin takes this to another level. It's rare, harder to spot, and far more dangerous to ignore. In fact, most people will never even realize they had it until it's gone. Stay with me. This is the coin people literally throw away, and that's what makes it terrifying. A 1970 nickel, with an S mint mark covered in a black layer of dirt, scratched, lifeless, almost ugly to look at. Most people don't even hesitate. They see it, they reject it, they spend it. But here's the reality you need to hear right now. That dark, dirty surface might be hiding one of the most overlooked silent fortunes in circulation. And once it's gone, you don't get a second chance. Let's go back to 1970 for a second. The United States was in the middle of economic strain, rising inflation, shifting monetary policies, and a growing disconnect between coin production and real-world usage. The San Francisco Mint, marked with that small but powerful S, wasn't producing coins for everyday circulation at the same scale as other mints. That alone changes everything. Lower output, specialized production focus, and less distribution into the general public created a strange situation. Fewer coins, less exposure, and over time, fewer survivors. Now, here's where it gets intense. Most of the 1970s nickels that did enter circulation weren't treated kindly. They weren't saved, protected, or admired. They were used hard, dropped, scraped, buried in pockets, soaked in moisture, and eventually covered in layers of grime and oxidation. That blackened surface you're seeing today, it's not just dirt. It's decades of untouched history compressed into a thin layer over metal. And collectors, they don't see ugly, they see authenticity. Take a closer look at the front of the coin. Thomas Jefferson's portrait is still there, but in poor condition. It's faint, almost ghost-like. The words "In God We Trust" might be partially visible, while Liberty 1970 struggles to stand out through the dark surface. And yet, that's exactly what matters. Because, even in that worn state, the identity of the coin survives. It hasn't been erased. It hasn't been artificially restored. It's real. Flip it over slowly. Monticello appears again, but this time, it's barely holding its structure. The steps may be flattened, the lines softened, the edges fading into the background. Round it, the inscriptions E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and the United States of America are still there, but they're fighting through the surface. This isn't a perfect coin. It's a surviving coin, and that difference is everything. The composition is the same copper-nickel blend, 75% copper, 25% nickel. But over decades, this metal reacts aggressively with its environment. Moisture, air, walls from hands, and time itself create that dark, almost black layer. Most people panic when they see this. They think it needs cleaning. They think they need to fix it. But listen carefully. Never clean this coin. That black layer is not damaged. It's proof. Proof that the coin has remained untouched, unaltered, and original. Physically, it's no different from any other nickel. It weighs 5 g, measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of about 1.95 millimeters. The edge is smooth, the shape is familiar, and in your hand, it feels completely ordinary. That's what makes it so easy to lose. That's why people don't think twice before spending it. But what feels ordinary can hold extraordinary value. Now, let's talk about that S mint mark. This is where collectors lock in. The San Francisco Mint didn't flood the market with coins like other mints did. That alone makes every surviving 1970s nickel more important. But in poor condition with original surfaces intact, that's where things get rare, because most coins in this state were either destroyed, cleaned, or completely ignored. Finding one that still carries its natural, blackened surface without interference is incredibly difficult. Collectors become obsessed with this contrast, the rough condition combined with untouched authenticity. It tells a story. It proves survival. And in the collecting world, survival is everything. You're not just looking at a coin. You're looking at something that made it through decades of neglect and still holds its identity. That emotional pull is what drives demand. And demand is not slowing down. In fact, it's getting tighter. More collectors are realizing that these ugly coins were the ones everyone ignored, and now they're the hardest to find in original condition. Supply is shrinking fast. People who understand this are pulling them out of circulation and holding onto them. Not selling, not trading, just holding. When examples like this do appear in the market, the behavior changes instantly. Bidding becomes focused, quiet, intentional. There's no hesitation because the people involved know what they're looking at. And that's why auction levels have reached around $135,000 for coins like this. Let that hit you. A blackened, dirty nickel worth serious money that's hidden. Wealth in its purest form. So, what should you do if you find one? First, don't panic. Don't try to clean it. Don't try to improve it. That black layer is your biggest asset. Second, check for the S mint mark. Make sure it's there and study its clarity. Third, look at the overall surface. Does it look natural? Untouched. That's what you want. And finally, get it professionally graded. This is not optional. Authentication is the only way to unlock its full potential. Do not spend this coin. That one mistake could erase a life-changing opportunity without you even realizing it. Protect it. Preserve it. Be patient. Because patience is what turns small discoveries into real wealth. Most people will never understand this. They'll keep spending coins like this every day, never knowing what they had. But now you do. And that awareness, that's where everything changes. But don't relax yet, because the next coin is on a completely different level. It's cleaner, sharper, and somehow even more dangerous to overlook. And when you see why, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Stay with me. You've probably held this coin before and didn't even blink. A 1960 nickel with a small D mint mark, slightly worn, nothing flashy, just another piece of change sliding across counters every day. But here's the part that should make you stop and think. This exact coin has quietly shocked serious collectors. Not because it looks rare, but because almost nobody realizes what it actually is while it's still in their hands. Step back into 1960 for a moment. America was entering a new decade filled with economic growth, industrial expansion, and rising consumer demand. The Denver Mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of coins to keep up with the booming economy. Machines ran longer, dies wore down faster, and speed often took priority over precision. That intense production environment created coins that were widely used, but very few survived decades in authentic, very fine condition without being damaged, cleaned, or worn beyond recognition. Now, look closely at the front of the coin. Thomas Jefferson's portrait face is left, familiar, but often overlooked. The inscription "In God We Trust" runs along the left edge, while Liberty 1960 appears on the right. In very fine condition, these details are not sharp like a brand new coin, but they're strong, readable, and balanced. That's what collectors want. They don't want perfection. They want a coin that shows age without losing its identity. That balance is incredibly rare after more than 60 years of circulation. Flip it over, and Monticello stands quietly at the center. The inscriptions E Pluribus Unum above, and Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America below frame the design. In southeast fine condition, the structure of Monticello is still visible with enough detail to show its architectural form. The steps may not be razor sharp, but they haven't disappeared, either. This is where collectors slow down, examining every line, every edge, every surviving detail. Collectors don't just want this coin, they compete for it, quietly, seriously, and sometimes aggressively, because when one appears that checks all the right boxes, correct date, clear D mint mark, strong remaining detail, and untouched surface, it triggers something deeper than casual interest. It becomes a target, a piece worth holding, protecting, and clears throat, never letting go. And here's where everything shifts. Coins like this have reached auction levels around $180,000. Let that sink in. A nickel, a simple 5-cent coin, turning into serious money. That's not just value, that's a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight. That silent fortune sitting in your pocket, waiting to be recognized. So, what should you do right now? Start by checking the date, 1960. Then look for the D mint mark. After that, study the condition carefully. Is it in very fine condition? Are the details still visible, but naturally worn? Does the surface look original with no signs of cleaning? These are the details that matter. This is what collectors are looking for. Do not spend this coin. That one careless moment could cost you more than you can imagine. Instead, protect it. Keep it safe. And most importantly, get it professionally graded. This step is critical. Without grading, you're guessing. With grading, you're entering a verified market, where collectors recognize true value. Patience is everything. The people who rush, who don't understand what they're holding, often lose out. But those who wait, who preserve, who learn, they're the ones who turn small discoveries into real wealth. This is not about luck, it's about awareness. Most people will never see this. They'll keep spending coins like this, every single day, never realizing what they had. But now you know, and that knowledge puts you in a completely different position. And just when you think this can't get any bigger, the next coin proves otherwise. It's older, rarer, and carries a level of hidden value that makes everything you've seen so far feel small. This next one, almost nobody recognizes in time. Stay with me. You've seen this coin before, but you didn't see it. A 1940 nickel with no mint mark, darkened with age, sitting quietly in change jars and forgotten corners. It doesn't demand attention. In fact, it does the opposite. It blends in so perfectly that most people pass it without a second thought. And that's exactly why it's one of the most dangerous coins to ignore. Because the moment you overlook it, you could be letting a hidden fortune slip away forever. Now, go back to 1940. The world was on edge. The United States was on the brink of entering a global conflict, industries were shifting, and economic pressure was building beneath the surface. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark, was producing coins during a time when priorities were changing fast. Materials, machinery, and manpower were all under stress. And in that environment, coins like this were created, not as collectibles, but as tools of daily survival in a nation preparing for uncertainty. Look closely at the front of this coin. Thomas Jefferson's profile is still there, but in fine condition with a blackened tone. It carries a completely different presence. The words "In God We Trust" stretch along the left, while Liberty 1940 sits on the right. The letters are worn, but not gone. They're softened, aged, and slightly muted under that dark surface. That's not damage, that's time itself, leaving its mark. And collectors, they don't just notice that, they value it. Turn the coin over slowly. Monticello appears again, standing in quiet strength. The inscriptions E Pluribus Unum above, and Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America below frame the design. In fine condition, the building still holds its structure. The steps are visible, though not sharp, and the lines are present, though softened. This balance between wear and detail is where the coin starts to speak. This is where most people miss what matters. The composition is the standard copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, but over more than 8 decades, that metal has transformed. Exposure to air, moisture, and human handling has created a deep, blackened tone across the surface. And here's the part most people get wrong. They think it needs cleaning. They think they can restore it. But listen carefully. Never clean this coin. That dark surface is its identity. Once you remove it, you remove the very thing that proves its authenticity. Hold it in your hand. It weighs 5 g, with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.95 millimeters. The edge is smooth, the shape is simple, and nothing about it feels extraordinary. That's the illusion, because while it feels like every other nickel, it carries something most coins don't: survival from a time when the world itself was changing. Here's where it gets even more serious. There's no mint mark. That means it came from Philadelphia. And while that might sound ordinary, it's actually what makes this coin so deceptive. Without a mint mark, people assume it's common. They don't look twice. They don't study the condition. They don't notice the toning. And because of that, they spend it. Over and over again, these coins disappear back into circulation, unnoticed and unprotected. But collectors, they see something completely different. They see a coin that has survived over 80 years. They see original surfaces, natural toning, and historical authenticity. They see a piece of 1940 that still exists exactly as it should, untouched. And that creates emotional demand. Not hype, not noise, real, focused desire to own something that can't be recreated. The rarity of this coin isn't about how many were made, It's about how many survived like this. Think about it. How many coins from 1940 have been cleaned, polished, scratched, or completely worn down? How many have lost their original surface forever? Now, imagine how few are left that still carry that natural black tone, that authentic wear, that untouched identity. That number is incredibly small. And when one of these appears in the market, something shifts. Collectors pay attention. Bidding becomes intentional. There's no guessing, only recognition, because they know what they're looking at. And that's why coins like this have reached market levels around $210,000. Let that sink in. A dark, quiet nickel holding serious money. That's not just value. That's life-changing hidden wealth. So, what should you do if you find one? First, don't ignore it. Check the date, 1940. Then confirm there's no mint mark. After that, study the surface. Is it naturally dark? Does it look untouched? That's exactly what you want. If it looks shiny or polished, that's a red flag. Original toning is everything. Do not spend this coin. That one mistake could cost you a fortune without you ever realizing it. Instead, protect it, store it safely, and most importantly, get it professionally graded. This step is critical. Without grading, you're guessing. With grading, you're entering a world where collectors take you seriously, and where real money moves. Patience is your biggest advantage. The people who rush, who don't understand what they have, often lose out. But the ones who wait, who preserve, who learn, they're the ones who unlock the true power of these coins. This is not luck. This is awareness. This is knowing what others ignore. Most people will never see this coin for what it is. They'll keep spending it, passing it along, never realizing they had a silent fortune in their hands. But now you know. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And here's the part you need to hear. This wasn't even the rarest coin hiding in circulation. There are still coins out there, even more valuable, even more overlooked, waiting to be discovered. So, before you spend another nickel, check again, because the next one you find might be the one that changes everything.